Hello! Let's take a closer look at how to mainstream gender-based violence risk mitigation into the planning phase of the operations management cycle, also known as the program cycle. During the video, you will identify the key planning documents to mainstream GBV risk mitigation during the planning phase. Consider how to apply gender-sensitive planning components to program planning processes, and reflect on GBV risk mitigation as an intended outcome instead of an unintended outcome of a program. First, link up with the assessment phase. Focus on the results of the joint analysis done with other stakeholders. This has critical information on who is at risk of GBV, what the nature of the GBV risk is, and which areas of work or sectors have a responsibility to mitigate all or part of the risk. Now it is time for the planning phase. Where do we find GBV risk mitigation within our planning documents? In country operation plans or operation plan submissions, GBV risk mitigation should be mainstreamed into regional response plans, such as the 3RP, along with indicators. It will be found in the Humanitarian Response Plan, or HRP, in clusterized contexts. Another place to find references to GBV risk mitigation would be within sector strategies. GBV risk mitigation will be included throughout planning documents in the sections pertaining to technical sectors, and the planned interventions to be conducted together with partners. It will also be found in areas specific to UNHCR, such as registration and identity management, refugee status determination, and durable solutions. This is called mainstreaming and will help link planned GBV risk mitigation activities in a sector to a budget line within the respective areas of responsibility. The GBV section, for example in the operation plan, will contain GBV prevention and response programming conducted by GBV specialists. In all emergencies, GBV response and risk mitigation must be prioritized as life-saving. Humanitarian programming also requires a do-no-harm principle and approach, and a proactive effort to mitigate the risk of harm arising from humanitarian programming, such as within shelter, WASH, energy, education, livelihoods, or cash-based interventions. What does gender-sensitive planning look like? Here are some examples taken from UNHCR's Gender Equality Toolkit. Define outcomes that take into account the gender analysis results, do not entrench existing gender inequalities, and help to secure equal access to and control over resources, information, services, and assistance. Use the IASC Gender with Age marker to prepare the COP, projects, multi-year, multi-partner strategies, etc. Consult persons of concern on the design of programs and decisions made. Ensure partnership agreements such as Memoranda of Understanding, Letters of Understanding, and Project Partnership Agreements clearly outline gender equality priorities, activities, and expected results. Select indicators from the results framework to monitor results related to gender equality. Use sex, age, disability, and other diversity disaggregated data and analysis to make decisions on budget prioritization. UNHCR has endorsed the use of the IASC Gender with Age marker to help strengthen programs across sectors, particularly during the planning and monitoring stages. The Gender with Age marker codes 12 gender equality measures. For example, one is on how feedback and complaint mechanisms carried out with other actors are documented in your program. See the links at the end of this video for more information. How do we ensure that GBV risk mitigation is an intended outcome instead of an unintended outcome of a program? The UNHCR AGD policy updated in 2018 stipulates that persons of concern should be consulted on the design of programs and the corresponding decisions that are made. Ensure that information drawn from safe consultations with women and girls and other persons at risk is considered and reflected in your planning documents, together with suggested GBV risk mitigation measures and risk mitigation as part of the sector program's intended outcomes. You may ask yourself, where should I start? Consider planning activities already in place in your operation and what the necessary aspects are to ensure GBV prevention and risk mitigation are included in the planning, prioritization, and resource allocation processes. Review current multi-year planning. Discuss the barriers to inclusion of GBV prevention and risk mitigation measures in planning and prioritization, and ensure these are included in comprehensive planning or they cannot be addressed or funded. see the UNHCR GBV Policy Operational Guidance on Planning, Prioritization, and Resource Allocation. Key messages. Base planning activities on previous assessments and analysis. The UNHCR Gender Equality Toolkit contains resources to be used during the planning and monitoring phases of any sector program. In all emergencies, GBV response and risk mitigation must be prioritized as life-saving. Women's needs and gender equality-related work are priorities for UNHCR and not secondary or optional work. Here are some additional resources to help you and your team mainstream GBV risk mitigation in the planning phase of the operations management cycle.